Corey McKernan has 230 games, 2 premierships and a club best and fairest to his name. But it could have been so much more. He should have been both a Rising Star and a Brownlow medal winner, and he could also have won a Norm Smith medal. Welcome, Corey. Do you feel cheated?
No, not really, Mike. I'm pretty content with how my career rolled out.
You've got the flags, and we know it's a team game, and they're the ultimate. But there are 3 individual awards with lots of kudos attached to them, and you could have won all 3 of them. You agree with that? You could have won the Norm Smith?
Probably, but look, it probably means more to me that whole grand final week, how I handled the whole week. And you know what? I still remember Wayne Carey and Anthony Rock gave me a McDonald's Brownlow medal that still means as much to me, because that signified how tight we were at North Melbourne at that time, and it meant a hell of a lot to me.
There's a fascination with the Brownlow medal for obvious reasons. You finished tied with Heard and Voss, but you were ineligible. You were in that famous Asterisk club. Tell us about that night. You didn't go to the award because you weren't eligible to win, so you weren't at the dinner. What did you do?
Look, I'd hurt my knee in the prelim final. I was just sitting at home, just icing up my leg, and it started off all jokes, and that night I became Asterisk. Like, one of my mates was saying, "Oh yeah, came up round 1, see McKernan 3 votes and got that little."
You got 3 in the round 1, did you?
Yeah. And started pretty strong, and like I said, like one of my mates had just basically had that little asterisk next to my name, and it was all I suppose jokes until about halfway through the night, and I suppose then reality hit that you're going to go pretty well. So I actually rang Mum and Dad and turned off my phone, and look, I wouldn't trade that entire week for anything in the world. When I look back at it now, it's probably my proudest achievement as a 22-year-old. I hurt my posterior cruciate in the prelim, to have Brownlow medal thrown at me and then still come out in the grand final and have 29, 30 possessions that's why I look forward to grand final week now. And when people say, was I disappointed about losing the Brownlow? Not one iota.
Really? You mean that, do you?
Yeah, genuine. It's actually surreal, when I look back at it now, that I wanted to win a premiership medallion for Darren Crocker, Sholey, Rocky, Ian Fowler. That was probably the thing that defined North Melbourne at that point, that I so wanted to win a medal for all those guys. And like I said, Wayne Carey and Anthony Rock, even on the Tuesday night after the Brownlow, that I know it sounds funny, but I've still got that McDonald's Brownlow.
Really? And I know that's the noble thing to say, and I believe you about that, but it is such a prestigious award, the Brownlow. I mean, it's there forever. Your name's indelibly in the record books for having won the ultimate individual award. Yeah,
well, look, you know what? If they did turn around one day, you gladly accept it. But I think the other thing that I'm sort of maybe pretty proud of, I won the AFL MVP that year as well. So when you got your peers of the game that they voted for it, and it's now the Lee Matthews medal, that, you know what I mean, it's sort of to be the players that I idolised when I grew up, and I barracked for Collingwood as a kid and loved Darren Mullane, and Darren Mullane won that, and then even Wayne Carey and all the guys, it's something that I'm pretty proud of.
Who did you watch the medal count with? You weren't allowed to drink because you were playing in the grand final, so you're at home?
Yeah, I just stayed at home. There was myself, Stewie. We had at that point there was myself, Stewie Anderson, Matty Capuano. There's about 5 or 6 of us that watched it at home, and it was even when I rang Mum and Dad and said, "Look, I'm going to turn my phone off," and obviously the media and stuff started coming around, but I still remember, even after it was all said and done, I remember getting in the car and I went for a drive and I sort of listened to all the messages, and there were some pretty funny messages on there, when you had mates from school and people just leaving drunk messages on the phone. But I suppose the one that really hit home, where you got a little bit emotional, was even Mum, where she was tearing up and on the phone. And I still remember I was driving through North Melbourne, and
so you just jumped in the car at about 10:30 at night.
Yeah, it would have been
by yourself.
Yeah, and then started listening to the voicemail messages in my car, and it was pretty cool, just listening to all the different messages of people. Like I said, a lot of people had a few beers.
Let's have a look, Corey, at the incident that cost you the medal and see what you think of it all these years on.
Yep.
Now that's Johnny Barnes falling on his face, taking a mark. You're coming in behind him. And you can argue the case that you sort of did fall into him when you may have been able to avoid it. Can you remember what your level of intent was?
It's funny when you look at it that I suppose the whole intent thing that I'm sort of trying to get off him as I'm trying to, like I'm not trying to land on him.
When you see that now, guilty or not, if you're on the match review panel, how do you vote?
Well, I think if you're saying for intent and then you look at, there's a big difference between trying to land someone's knees and someone's back.
But you can be reckless too without being totally intentional.
I think it might have been demerit points.
You reckon? Okay. Yeah. So you reckon that's what it deserved?
Oh, look, it might have been. Yeah, it might have been.
Okay. What about the Rising Star? Now, we're going to concentrate on team things later, but just the individual. The Rising Star, 1994, tripping Jason Ball. I remember at the time thinking that was the one you were really hard done by. Let's have a look at that one.
Well, I think that one's funny because they actually changed the rule, I think, the following year.
They did.
That tripping by hand was no longer an offence. So.
You should not lose an award for that. Oh, you were younger then. Were you more impressionable? Did that hurt you that you'd been denied this award at such a young age?
I think, look, when it comes to all those awards, I don't know, I think it may have helped my career ultimately. That I was someone that trained and prepared as well as anyone. Like, me being retired sits pretty well with me, that I knew that I'd fired all my shots. But I don't know what sort of effect that it actually had in terms of maybe the pressure that, I already put pressure on myself anyway. But I don't know what sort of, I don't know, it might have been a release to go, you know what, I'd already won the Brownlow, I'd already won the Rising Star, and it may have inadvertently helped me.
Okay. I want to take you to the start of 1997, and it's a bloke that you may be familiar with. He used to write a list of the top 50 players in the competition in the Herald Sun. The start of 1997, here are the top 5. Carey, Hurd, McKernan, Lockett, Richardson. It's pretty illustrious company, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You were flying then, weren't you? I mean, it had happened so quickly for you. Those 3 seasons, 94 through 96, you were like Halley's Comet. You just burst onto the scene and you were a massive name in the game. Did you think that was that the peak?
Look, in 96, in our club best and fairest, I only finished 3rd.
Yeah.
So it was really weird. I still remember having the conversation with Dennis in 97, and it was early in the season, Wayne had gone down and I think we'd had a few injuries, and I still remember Dennis going, well, look, if you don't win the best and fairest, there's something wrong. And I remember walking out of that meeting going, hang on, I only finished 3rd the year before, I won the MVP, I've done all these things, and I was already someone that put pressure on myself anyway, and then going, hang on, well, the club only rates me 3rd the year before, how the hell am I going to win the best and fairest this year? So I don't know what sort of effect all that sort of stuff had on me.
Should you have won the best and fairest in 96?
No, I'm by no stretch of the,
you're the best player in the competition and you're proud of that because your peers have regarded you as the MVP, yet you finished 3rd in your own club award.
Oh, look, it was just, I think it was more the latter that I was saying. I think going into the next year, going, hang on, well, I only finished 3rd. I'm not saying that I should have won it, but I'm just saying, hang on, well, I only finished 3rd in my own club's award, and yet I've got my own peers in the competition saying, you were pretty much the best player in the competition, but where do I sit in the scheme of things? Did
you think in your own heart that you ranked alongside the Duck at that time, at the end of 96? Do you think you was the same?
I probably did. No, I never ever probably thought of myself as in the same category as Wayne Carey. When it came to finals performances and doing things in the finals, even running back with the fly of the ball and doing those sorts of things, which I tried to do on occasions. I just looked at it wasn't hard. You looked at what Wayne Carey did. But there were times you probably felt like you had a glimpse of maybe what he does, but he was, as you know, he was the best. In terms of, and look, I think with Wayne, the thing that's undervalued is how he prepared himself for a game of footy and the effect that he had on us. I know, people mentioned, okay, well, we had a culture at North Melbourne where we trained hard and we played hard. But the underlying thing that Wayne Carey was as good a trainer as anyone going around, and he forced me. The effect he had on me and everyone else was profound.
Were you a party boy too?
I probably was, yeah. Yeah, but look, I think at that time it was, you know what, and even when I go back to before with getting that little McDonald's medallion off Anthony Rock and Wayne Carey, that was North Melbourne at that time. That's why it probably means as much to me, because North Melbourne at that time, as you know, like we were so tight. We didn't have the best facilities in the competition. Like you would have come down and
I saw him.
Seen our gym and everything like that. But the biggest thing we had going for us, and even the biggest thing that even Dennis said was the greatest strength of North Melbourne Football Club is the people that work there.
It's the second time you mentioned Dennis, and we're talking about Dennis Pagan, your coach at North Melbourne, and later at Carlton. You were Dennis's whipping boy in the latter part of your time, though, weren't you?
Oh, look, I wouldn't say whipping boy, but like I said, I think it was this inadvertently, probably just sometimes the pressure. I don't know. I think it was just maybe sometimes the pressure that was probably put on me. I don't know. Yeah, that was probably the biggest thing.
Some people that you played with would say that he almost broke your spirit.
Oh, no, look, I think there was like certain occasions, like I mentioned, that, look, even with Dennis is like, even to this day, and even now that I work in business and the way I prepare and things like that, that's the biggest effect that Dennis has had on me. And I'm forever grateful that the effect that Dennis has had on my life.
I know the North blokes all say how important Dennis was to their life, but Dennis could also be cutting, couldn't he? And I mean, I think when your form tapered, it seemed to be that he made you the target of and tried to sort of badge you into recapturing that form.
No, not really. I think it's probably even maybe a bit unfair on Dennis, even that. Look, I think there was, the biggest thing was, I think at certain occasions, and even when I went to Carlton, I still remember when I'd started off pretty bad, and I still remember walking off the training track, and this probably encapsulates how I was. I always prepared really well for games of footy, but I still remember walking off the training track with Wayne Britton, and we were the last ones off, and even he said, he goes, you know what, they can burn the grandstands down, I'm not going to drop you. And even just to have that, do you know what I mean, where, I don't know, it was just that sort of thing. It was like, I don't know, call it a cuddle or whatever you want to do, but I nearly felt indebted that I wanted to do something for him.
Well, you talked about Wayne Britton and sort of giving you that cuddle. The thing that was difficult for us as people who watched Corey McKernan come in and be the star he was, and then in Carlton, where Britton was, and, you know, running under the ball and missing simple marks and stuff, your confidence looks like it was shot at that period.
Yeah, look, like I said, I probably just put, you know what, it was probably the biggest thing with my footy career. I just put sometimes too much pressure on myself. And even, you know, I mean, even when you think, it's almost laughable now that when you think back, and I know the question's coming, but when you think back that I played a game of footy and didn't have a touch, like it's actually, and I still remember, I remember going into that particular game.
That's a round 6 game against Richmond in 2001,
I remember
correct?
Before the game, truth be known, I probably shouldn't have even played footy that night, where I was so wound up and I was just so wanting to perform well that I still remember looking back at it now that you really should have just put my hand up and say, I shouldn't have played.
But what do you say to a coach though? You say, I don't feel well, my biorhythms aren't right.
Nah, but I think it was one of those ones that, really, how would you do it nowadays?
Yeah.
But even when I look back at it now, I still remember before the game where I was so wound up and you felt like the whole microscope was on me that I really...
Why though? Why, you were at North then, weren't you? Was that your last year at North?
I think it might have been, yeah.
Why so? I mean, it's early in the season. You had such a distinguished career at this footy club. Why would you feel under such pressure?
Oh, look, I think even just going back, when you know you can play well and you're wanting to play well, but it's just not happening. And I think the biggest secret, I think, to my footy career was when I was enjoying my footy and even things like having a beer and that sort of stuff. That was when you played your best footy. It was like the football and worrying about it was secondary. It was as long as I had the process right and of enjoying myself and doing all those things, that was the biggest thing for me.
You said, Corey, in that game you didn't have a touch. Players say that when they've had an ordinary game. You literally did not have a touch that night. You had 5 hit-outs. That's what the stat sheet said. Now, did you play the entire game?
I might have. Yeah, I think I might have. Yeah.
What goes through your mind? You know, we've all felt, whatever level you play at, you feel it when you can't get your hands on the footy. You know that people are noticing it. When you're sort of deep into a game and you just can't find it.
It defies, it defies belief when you really think about it, that you can go out on the biggest stage of them all and have 30 touches.
That's the grand final, yeah.
And then go into a game like that and not touch it.
Yeah. Fact or fiction? You're playing at Carlton, you've been away overseas, you arrive back at Melbourne Airport to the news that Dennis Pagan is your new coach at Carlton. What did you say to the bloke who told you that?
No, it was the bloke at Customs actually told me. Look, I was in Queenstown and I got a few text messages from Jace McCartney, and I thought all the boys were winding me up, like all the North Melbourne guys going,
This is about Dennis going to Carlton.
Yeah, Dennis is coming to Carlton. And look, I'd gone to Carlton, done some hard yards early days, and I felt like I'd earned the respect of everyone at Carlton. That I think early days I was pretty bad or pretty scratchy, and then came back and won the best and fairest. But yeah, I thought everyone was having a lend to me when they said that Dennis was there.
So the Customs guy says Dennis is your new coach, you said?
Well, as you know, when you go through Customs, your phone, you virtually lose that signal when you go through at Tullamarine Airport. And I walked up to the guy, handed him my passport, and he just looked at it and he goes, you're going to be happy with your new coach.
And you said?
I did say, you're kidding. That was, but look,
you didn't say, can I head back to New Zealand, did you?
No, look, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Really, I probably should have. I should have gone straight away. But
what do you mean by that?
I should have left straight away.
Left Carlton?
Yeah, even though I won the bet. But you know what?
What, because of your relationship with Dennis?
Yeah, look, it just wasn't. Look, I have the greatest respect for Dennis and everything like that. But just from a working relationship, I have the utmost respect of everything that we've ever done together and everything like that. But just from a working relationship, we didn't get the best out of one another.
Have a look at that, Corey. That's Dennis talking to you at Carlton.
Yeah.
What do you read in his expression there? You've seen that plenty of times.
Yeah, the picture probably tells 1,000 words.
Corey, you left North at the end of 2001?
Yeah.
Yep. You've said more recently that you probably should have left North when you re-signed in 1999. Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you think your time had come then?
Look, even at that point, I wasn't really enjoying my footy.
See, 99's another premiership year, isn't it?
Yeah. I hastily signed my footy contract before the final series in 99 because me being me, I didn't want to be disruptive and make it a talking point during the finals. But again, like we all are, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But maybe at that point, I wasn't really enjoying my footy.
Why not? Why, looking back, do you think you weren't enjoying your footy? That was the 7th year in a row that you'd played at preliminary final level, and you were going to win your second flag. So your world should have been a beautiful place.
Yeah, but I felt like at that point, and that was ultimately the reasons why I did leave North Melbourne, I just wasn't enjoying my footy as much as I should have, and probably, look, it was even just in terms of my relationship with Dennis and stuff like that. It wasn't working.
Dennis and you go back to when you were a kid, and Dennis would bang on your door and almost plead for you to come and play footy at North Melbourne. And according to fact or fiction, you were keener on golf. Is that right?
I used to hide. I did. I remember Dennis would come out to my house and he'd be driving that silver Camaro that he used to have. And look, at that point, I was more hell bent on, playing golf. That's all I wanted to do. And it was funny in terms of when you look back at it now. And I remember Dennis used to come out the house, and there's a couple of times he used to tell Mum and say, "No, tell him I'm not here." And but look, in the end, he broke his rules, and he said, "Look," he goes, "just come down and play and see how you go." And
no, that was a rule of his. That was the way he got Arch down there too. Just sort of come down and have a game.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a turning point back because I played my first game, kicked 11 goals.
Yeah.
So.
That was under 19 level.
Yeah.
5 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
11 for the game.
Yeah. I remember Dennis saying, he goes, "You probably won't kick 11 goals again." I go, "Yeah," and he was right.
It's a fairly tall target. How good were you at golf?
Look, I think, I was good enough. I think it was just me and my personality that if I had have done either, I think I would have been all right.
How far could you smack it?
I think the longest drive ever hit, I remember playing with Wayne Carey and Mick Martin. Isn't that it's not exactly your dream foursome that you're going to play. We were playing in Las Vegas, so I think it was like 96. I remember we had a par 5 there, and it was 550 yards this par 5, and I had 100 yards to the hole after the tee shot.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
Did you step it out?
Well, I hit wedge into the hole, so...
Must have been the rarefied air, was it?
I think it was. That's it. Look, I think, I mean, I'm not exactly short, so, yeah.
You left North Melbourne after 2001. And there was a period in which sort of the club looked like it imploded. That was when the Wayne Carey, Anthony Stevens business erupted. Did that hurt you when you're out of the place, but it's still your home spiritually, and all the damage that was done at that time?
Oh, it was. Yeah, it goes without saying, it was terrible. I was obviously at Carlton, and I remember getting a phone call from Jason McCartney, and he explained some of the things that had happened. But like I said, the greatest thing about North was how close we were. And but I made a pretty conscious decision that they were all my mates, and it didn't matter what happened. They were always going to be my mates, and I'm still mates with both the guys concerned. I was probably a little bit disappointed with people that started choosing sides. Obviously, there was people really close to them that had their alliances, but at the end of the day, they were our mates, and it had nothing. What happened it had nothing to do with me in a way. Like, I just felt like, they're your mates, and let them do it. But it was obviously. Look, it was a really bad time.
You went back to North, Corey, 2004. Was it the right decision? You played, I think, 14 or 15 games that year.
Yeah, look, I think when you think about it psychologically, I think it took a lot out of me that year in 2003. I think, again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I should have just retired. Like, I should
retired before 2003?
No, I should have just finished it at the end of 2003. Yeah. Even though I went back to North, it really, from a psychological point of view, just took a hell of a lot out of me.
But it was probably the right way to round it off, was it not?
I think it was, yeah. But look, I again still trained and prepared and everything like that, and did. I obviously tried to do the right thing. But I think psychologically, it did take a lot out of me that 2003 year.
I've heard you talk before about the 96 grand final and a passage of play late in the second quarter when it's slipping away from North. And that was when you sort of seemed to turn up the intensity. And tell us about the significance of that moment.
Look, I think we'd only just kicked a goal just before that, going back to a centre bounce. And it's like, I can nearly think about it at any time going round. I saw it on TV the other day, and I can get it, and even now it gives you goosebumps. And it's my favourite passage of play.
So take us through it.
Well, it was a centre bounce.
You're in the ruck?
In the ruck. Like, basically hit it, punched it forward, chased after it. I think Arch gets the ball, it spills up in the air, then I chase after it, smash the ball on, and then it goes forward, and then Glenn Freeborn picks it up and it goes for a goal. But I think it was just the significance of the whole passage of play, that it wasn't a clean possession. It was just that whole knock it on, surge it on philosophy that Dennis had. That, and I think at that point, that's when... I think even for me it signified too in that game that in the first quarter I was a bit scratchy because of my knee, and then it really signified for me too that I was back, and I was back in a big way.
I don't mean to open up old wounds for Swan supporters, but Paul Kelly's got the footy. Tony Lockett's coming at him. I think the Swans are about 35 points up, and Kelly misses with the kick. Had that passage of play ended in a Sydney goal? How do you think things would have transpired from there?
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
you were in trouble, weren't you?
Oh, we're in trouble. Like, I remember going into quarter time, and no disrespect to Troy Luff, but I remember going into quarter time and going...
And now you're going to disrespect him. Yeah.
No, but I'm going, hang on, well, we've got Paul Kelly, we've got Plugger. We're not going to get beaten by either of those two. We're going to get beaten by Troy Luff. And I think, look, he kicked a couple of goals in the first quarter, and I remember going into into the quarter time huddle where it was one of those times where I was actually, I don't know, it was a bit surreal when I look back at it now, where you have a real good talking to yourself and you go, you know what, Corey, if you don't play well today, you get remembered for this forever. And it was, I don't know, and I think that's why I love grand final day. Like, I actually love, like, I get to do a lot of sports events with my company and things like that, but the grand final day and even our first 15 minutes of the grand final is the best in world sport. There is nothing like it. Like, it's not like any other game where it builds up at the start and then it just dies off. As you know, grand final day and that first 50, the game builds up to a crescendo and it's like it stays like that for 15, 20 minutes. So you just, look, you really love the memories of grand final day and being able to perform on the biggest stage.
Corey, let me ask you about an unofficial organisation called the Asterisk Club. Do you have a function at your pub on Brownlow Medal night called the Asterisk Club?
Look, the reason why I came up with it, look, Dave Rogers and the job he does with Challenge Kids with Cancer. So yeah, I mean, come up with something. If they ever do decide to give me the Brownlow one day, I might have to cancel it. So, but look, it was probably just more out of the fact that like Dave Rogers does such a fantastic job with kids with cancer that I wanted to do something and make a night of it.
Corey, we love watching you play. There's no doubt about that. I mean, you were a hero for lots of us for several years, particularly in the mid-90s. It's been great trawling through your career and good luck for the future.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, mate.
This has been a Fox Footy production for Fox Sports.